All right, hello everybody. Thank you for joining our webinar, co-hosted by CyberData and VoIP Supply today. We're going to go over how to successfully integrate Microsoft Teams with SIP endpoints. So I'm Darren Hartman from VoIP Supply. Just to give you a little background about VoIP Supply. VoIP Supply is a North America leading VoIP solutions provider. We've been in business since 2002. We also have a team here with just over about 35 employees. We handle about 125,000 customers. Product catalog, over 5,000 products, over 60 manufacturers. Some reseller benefits. Our VoIP rental program is very popular. Device as a service rental program gives customers a wide variety of VoIP products for low monthly payments. We also do hardware and provisioning for a lot of leading VoIP service providers out there, featuring over 60 manufacturers, 16,000 products. So we can do stickers, labeling, custom faceplates in a lot of cases, redirects, all of that for you. A CloudSpan Marketplace, a single place to shop for various VoIP service providers. You can build up your monthly recurring revenue as an agent with us and receive discounts on hardware selling through VoIP Supply. Also, some really nice SPIF programs with the hosted cloud and SIP trunking offerings we have. Fulfillment goes along with the hardware and provisioning. So we will, as far as the stock that we have here, we can basically do all the provisioning for you, send out blind shipments to customers if you need that. Really helps out with shipping and such. Our refresh and reclaim program. So we offer certified reconditioned devices. So we will also buy back some of your old equipment from you, give you money towards new purchases. We also do sell a lot of refresh phones, especially with a lot of the shortages out there in the marketplace with some of the endpoints. As far as the phones go, mainly we have a pretty good stock on refresh stuff. So if you can't find a new, a lot of times we have refresh available for you at some nice prices. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Paul Tuttle, who's going to go over all the nice CyberData endpoints here. So thank you.
Excellent. Yeah, thank you for the segue there, Darren. So today what we'll be covering is a little bit about, of course, integration of VoIP products, specifically CyberData SIP products with Microsoft Teams. But before we get into that, we'll kind of cover a little bit of company history. There might be some people out there that might not know about CyberData, and hopefully this will just give you a little bit of information about us, what we do, who we are, where we are, all that good stuff. We'll talk about Teams, about the numbers, and just the general user base of Teams. Some good products that we found that have been selling really well in the Microsoft Teams environment. And then finally, just an overview of some use cases and some different applications that we've seen for our products in Microsoft Teams. So a little bit about CyberData. We're based out of Monterey, California, and we've been around since 1974. Of course, not really doing VoIP way back then. We were doing point of sales back then. So we kind of dabble in two different segments of business. We, of course, do VoIP endpoints that we'll be talking about a lot about today, but we also do point of sales connectivity solutions. So things like retail hubs and different cables, so we do a lot at CyberData. And as such, we're kind of a vertically integrated product development company. We go and kind of own the entire thing where we design the products, actually lay out all the schematics for our PCBs, and then actually assemble and manufacture everything in Monterey, California, which is really cool. Everything's really local, the way that we keep everything, and done by a small crew, just like VoIP Supply. I think we're in the mid-30s for employees at CyberData, including our production staff. So, another small company, but we do a lot at CyberData. We're TAA compliant, so that's really helpful when you're trying to win bids for different government contracts and other schools. And that's going to apply for all of our SIP-related products, so everything that we'll cover today, but also our Informacast and Synapse-enabled products, so products that will specifically work with those two different emergency notification suites. And we've been partners with VoIP Supply since 2017. So moving on, just to talk a little bit about Microsoft by the numbers. Microsoft Teams has really been growing since it came out in April 2020, it had about 75 million users, so it's starting to get traction. But by April of 2021, just a year later, it almost doubled in the amount of users, going up to 145 million active users. And that was back in April. So I would estimate that they're probably close to, if they haven't already passed, 200 million active users out there. And there's a lot of big fish out there with all those active users. The number of organizations that have more than 1,000 users per organization, integrating all of their phone and business applications, has tripled three times over. It's tripled three times year over year. So there's a lot of big fish out there. There's lots of small companies out there. At CyberData, we use Microsoft Teams for a lot of our communication stuff, for different meetings, and even our tech support department will use that for different remote sessions. So, there's lots of different customer bases out there for the Microsoft Teams environment, anywhere from small to medium business to those really big enterprise level companies. And there's a lot of different ways to actually integrate with Microsoft Teams, but the two we'll be highlighting today are Ribbon SBCs as well as Ringcentral. Ringcentral is, I'm sure a lot of people know here on the call, is, really a market dominator in hosted PBX, and they also provide Teams integration through a couple different variations. So, with these two services and many others out there, there's a lot of other companies that support integration with Teams. So just don't think you've either got Ribbon or Ringcentral. There's a lot of options, but we're just going to be highlighting those today because of the easy integration with those. So to talk a little bit about Ribbon, everybody knows Ribbon for their on-premise SBCs or session border controllers, but that's not all they have. They, of course, they made their name with the on-premise stuff, but they've also got cloud-based options now. And one of the really nice offerings with Ribbon is it's usually you pay once, you buy the hardware, and you don't have to pay a monthly or anything like that. There can be some fees depending on some other stuff, but generally, you buy the hardware and you're done. That's usually it. And one of the nice things is they've got a really wide range of options. So you can provide models and specific units for individual customers that, say, they're kind of a small business, say like CyberData, that have 40 to 50 people. And we hope to 2x that. We hope to get to 100 employees. So something like 192 seats or sessions on one of these Ribbon gateways would be perfect for us. Or you're shooting for the big fish, shoot for those enterprise level customers, and they've got options literally up to 75,000 concurrent sessions with some of their offerings. So Ribbon is definitely going to be a good enterprise level or a good small to medium business level in terms of that SBC and integration with Teams. They're ridiculously reliable. These things are almost bulletproof. Of course, not literally bulletproof. Don't take them out and shoot them. But they're super duper reliable, and they've been certified with Teams, and they've been working with Microsoft for a long time. They were doing the old Skype for Business, for Link, all that kind of stuff, and they've just moved into doing Microsoft Teams now. Moving on to Ringcentral, who's, of course, another really big player in hosted telecom. That's really their claim to fame. They do a ton of business. They really are kind of, when you think of hosted cloud providers, a lot of people think Ringcentral just because they've been out there for so long. They do a lot out there. And one of the newer things they've started offering is Teams integration. And they've got 3 different ways to integrate with Teams. They've got kind of the first implementation that they had that was basically essentially like a chat bot, that when you would go and get a call through Teams, that bot would then call your Ringcentral number and it would work seamlessly like that. It was kind of kludgy, but it would work. Then they evolved into a Chrome extension that you could get, which was pretty good, but then that restricted the actual use of Teams to using the actual web-based Teams instead of the application that honestly just works a little bit better. Unless you're one of those weird guys using Linux or something like that, you're probably going to be using the actual Teams client itself. So they have recently come out with a direct routing option, which is kind of the bog standard way to go for integration with Microsoft Teams. You're almost always just going to be doing direct routing. So that way it's seamless. When you get a call at your Teams number, it rings anything that's directly routed with that. So that can be things like, of course, your regular Ringcentral soft client. So that can be things like Ringcentral Classic or the actual app on your phone. But it can also ring your desk phone if you're actually still in the office, or you've got a desk phone sitting at your office at home. So it provides a really, really easy integration there. And one of the nice things is there's a pay per seat option. Since it's Ringcentral, you're only paying for the seats that you need. You're not paying, say, for 100 seats and you're only using 75 of them. It's a pay per seat option. And one of the nice things that Ringcentral does in terms of other providers that can offer direct routing is it's a one-time setup fee, and they don't actually charge for that direct routing on top of your regular Ringcentral fees. They're still going to charge you once a month for your regular Ringcentral service, but there's no, say, like $3 or $5 fee tacked on top of that because you've got direct routing use. It's a one-time setup fee, just so that way, they can cover their back end for the integration that they have to do with your account and your team setup. Of course, requiring all those special Microsoft licenses and all that good stuff. But once you get all that worked out and integrated with your Ringcentral system, it works really seamlessly, just like you would expect from the big market dominator that is Ringcentral. So as we move forward, let's talk about a couple products that we commonly see used in the Ringcentral environment. And two of our big movers, and people that might have dabbled a little bit with CyberData probably know these two products, either our SIP paging adapter or our SIP paging server. And these are what we like to refer to as our IP to analog or hybrid paging options. And these are just good options. It's basically just a little box. It's a little bit smaller than a VHS tape, if you remember what those things are. And it plugs into your network like a regular PoE-based device, Cat5, Cat6 cable, plug it in, it registers with your phone system, or registers as through an SBC as a SIP registrar, and operates just like, basically like a regular phone. It just looks a little different. But these provide an interface to an analog speaker system. So if you're working with a client that has, say, an older paging system, say like a Bogan or a Valcom or, what have you, Duquesne, something like that. They've got an old amplifier that they got, 15, 20 years ago. It still works, but, they don't really know how to integrate it with their new Teams-based system. They can get one of these options. And they're both the exact same form factor, same hardware, different software, and they function a little bit differently. The SIP paging adapter is really the best kind of bare bones option where they're just looking to pick up a phone and make an overhead announcement, or make an overhead announcement through their Teams client. It's just really easy integration, and if that's all they're looking for, they don't want any fancy bells and whistles, they literally just want to make an overhead announcement and that's it, the SIP paging adapter is the way to go. But we've also got the SIP paging server, and that one can do the exact same thing as the paging adapter, but can do a little more. So say, for example, you're working with a client that has, say, a dedicated analog paging system in one of their buildings, but they just expanded and they ran some fiber over to a new building. And instead of, speccing out an old school analog system, they're putting in a new IP-based system, hopefully with CyberData speakers and horns that we'll cover shortly, or frankly, any other IP-based SIP speaker or notification device. They'll probably support a protocol known as multicast, which is just an easy way to get voice paging across the network to multiple devices simultaneously. And that's what the paging server can do. It can still provide that analog audio output while also paging via multicast. So that way you get kind of your hybrid system, where you've got analog in one building and IP in the other. So it makes it really easy, translatable, but you get a lot of extra features when you're dealing with the paging server. It's got a bell scheduler that's actually built into it. So it's super popular with schools and other kind of like bigger manufacturing areas. One key customer that we've had use them is the Gillig Bus Company. They built a new factory, I think it was 2-3 years ago, up in the Bay Area, and they ended up using CyberData for all of their paging hardware. And they've got, production crews, running round the clock because, people were buying all sorts of buses then. And they needed break bells to let people know, hey, it's your lunch break. Hey, it's your 10-minute break, or hey, it's the end of shift. Go home. They did all that through their paging server. So it provides you a lot of solutions in there and a lot of cool capabilities in a single box. And, one nice thing with our products is there's no additional fee tied to it. You don't need to pay us, some amount of money per month to use those features. You buy the box and you get it for life. Now for the actual connections on these, they've got two different connection styles, and we find that this works with just about 90% of amplifiers out there. You've got your kind of tip and ring style connection, and that's going to be a balanced 600 ohm tip and ring connection. So, literally a wire for tip, a wire for ring, and you're usually good to go there. And that works with most of your off-the-shelf older amplifiers and even some newer ones today. But a lot of newer amplifiers that you'll run into have, gone away from, a typical screw down connection where you plug in some wire and you screw it down to a more modern RCA style connection. And we offer both of those. And our RCA style connection is a 10,000 ohm unbalanced connection. So with both a balanced and an unbalanced option, both in a tip and ring and regular RCA style, you can connect to just about any analog amplifier out there. So it makes it really easy to just be able to go and spec out a site and know, okay, they've got a paging system with one of these two boxes, depending on what kind of special capabilities they're looking for. I can connect to that and they can continue to be able to page. So as we move on, I mentioned our IP paging products, and we've got a whole swath of them, including more that we have pictured here, but these are just some of the big movers that I've found have been super popular in Teams environments. So my personal favorite product at CyberData is our SIP IP66 Horn. We came out with this guy because we've got another product not featured here called our SIP paging amplifier, which is basically an amplifier that powers 1 to 2 8-ohm horns. And it was really powerful for paging because with 2 horns on full AT level power, that thing would cover around 10,000 square feet. So you could plop 1 or 2 of those in a warehouse and be able to seamlessly page in a huge warehouse. But with that thing, it was a little complicated to install because you had to, run a network cable for it, and then you had to go and actually install the horns that it's working with. It was a lot of wiring, and it would typically bloat up installation time and, cost more money for the end customer because you got to have a guy there on a ladder, mounting the amplifier, mounting the horns, wiring it all. It was a good product, and it still is a good product, but it's a little hard to install. Well, we took that feedback that we got from a lot of our installation base and thought, why don't we make an all-in-one unit? So we did, and that's the SIP IP66 Horn. So it's basically the brains of that SIP paging amplifier, the actual circuit board itself, taken out and mounted internally to this IP66 Horn. So it makes installation a breeze because you can't really see it in the picture here, but it's got this big old C bracket on it. So you basically just take the bracket off, mount that to the wall, run a data cable, plug in your horn, cinch it back with that bracket, and you're done. So it provides a really easy all-in-one solution for paging. And because it's an all-in-one unit and it's IP66, it's good for an outdoor or an indoor environment. We sell a lot of these as different, of course, like parking lot announcements, things like that. We sell them a lot for schools where they'll use them for paging and notification out on the blacktop, out on the playground. But we also do a lot of these in internal environments just because it's really easy to install. And one of our big customers actually uses it for one of their chip factories, not, circuit boards, but, actual like potato chips. And those potato chips are covered in some kind of a cheese dust. I'll let you guys kind of decide whichever company that might be on your own. But one of the nice things, and they were really happy about it, is when these things get covered in cheese dust, they're IP66 rated, they can literally hose this thing off and clean it. So it's a really, really useful unit. It covers around 5,000 to 7,500 square feet. So it's really powerful, it's easy to install, saves on installation time, and it's a regular SIP device. So it can register with that SIP phone system or with Teams and be directly addressable through there. For more office-style environments and classrooms, I really like recommending our SIP TalkBack speaker. It's got a microphone mounted in it, so it's really good for two-way communication. We do a lot of these in school environments where they might not be going and splurging for both a speaker and a dedicated desk phone for that teacher. A lot of them still do, but sometimes, especially now with Teams in different schools, they're actually using the Teams client on a PC and just giving, all those teachers, a $40, $50 headset instead of, plopping down, a $100 phone on their desk and putting a big old expensive speaker on their wall. Saves them a little bit of money that way, and that way they can still utilize Teams. But with the TalkBack capability in there and pairing that with one of our buttons, it makes it really easy for this speaker to be able to make a dedicated call. So when somebody comes up and presses that button, the speaker can make a call just like a regular phone, and you can have a full duplex communication. Or we've got a couple different options for actual TalkBack capabilities. So in kind of louder environments, we've got options for push to talk or a pseudo Vox implementation. So we've got a lot of different ways to actually utilize the speakers. But one of the new features that we have on our TalkBack speakers is what we call our audio health check. And that's a thing that you can just run actually from the web interface. You literally just click you click the button that says audio test, and it'll go through and it'll play a series of tones and actually record that back with the onboard microphone and tell you the capability of the speaker, how it does in those different frequency ranges. So if you're getting a report from a classroom that, oh, the speaker just doesn't seem to be working, it sounds really funny, you can remote into the speaker because it's IP based, and you can run this check remotely without having to send anybody out to site and know, okay, yeah, it does sound a little weird in that frequency range. Let's get somebody out to site. Let's send out a spare speaker and let's take a look at it. You could find that, some kids messed with the speaker and shoved carrot cake through the grill or something funky, but it provides you that capability. And that check can be run automatically. You can go and schedule it. So say it happens in off hours, or it can be run, again, just by clicking that little button on there. So it provides a really easy option for both just that two-way communication, but also just having the confidence in knowing that the speaker is working and being able to back that up with data saying, oh, my speaker sounds funny. Well, it's looking good in all these different areas. Let's try X, Y, and Z. So that way you don't have to put boots on the ground to go out there and troubleshoot a speaker when it was, just some kids messing with a volume dial or something on there. So you get a lot of capabilities with that. But another big mover that we've seen is things like our RGB multicolor strobes. And we've got these available in both an indoor and an outdoor environment. We've just got the outdoor version pictured here. It's basically the exact same thing, but instead of that nice stainless steel case, you get kind of a powder coated finish. So they both look really good, and they're really useful in paging environments where you've got kind of a louder environment, or an environment where you might have people that are hearing challenged. They might not be able to actually hear the announcements, but they can see that big blinky light on the wall and look to somebody that's doing sign language. That way they can actually hear these things. We find these are really popular in manufacturing environments, especially different machine shops where they're running big, either CNC machines or tools with different lathes. They're making things, they're making parts out of metal. It gets kind of loud. And no matter how loud my horns are, they're probably not going to be able to hear it. If they're, going and spinning something on a lathe, they've got hearing protection on, they're probably not going to be able to hear that announcement, or if they can, it'll kind of sound like, one of the teachers from the Peanuts. So with that big blinky light on the wall, they can see it's flashing a specific color. They can hit that big red button on their machine, shut it off, and say, hey, did anybody hear that? What was going on? But one of the nice things with our strobes in comparison to other strobes out there on the market is we use RGB LEDs for the actual illumination on our strobes instead of just a colored lens that you can put on this actual strobes. That way you can have different colors for different notifications. So like we have pictured here, red could be an emergency. Say, for example, the factory is located in Tornado Alley and they might be getting a tornado, or in an area where they might be getting hit with hurricanes or flooding or things like that. They can actually have it go and illuminate red for those emergency style notifications, or blue or teal or pink for any of those kind of regular non-emergency announcements. So you've got all that kind of flexibility where you can have different colors for different purposes. So it makes it really powerful and just really ideal for these loud environments. And the outdoor unit is IP65 rated. So it's really good for these outdoor environments, super popular, really easy to work with. And then finally, we've got our multicast line of speakers. We've got two different kinds of these multicast speakers. We've got a ceiling mount option as well as a wall mount option. I really like the wall mount option because of the mounting bracket that it comes with. It comes with kind of a mounting bracket that you would use for, say, a nice home surround sound system. So it's got a pretty wide range of adjustment, and it's really easy to work with. And one of the nice things is that this is a big cost saver. It costs, substantially less than a regular SIP speaker, but because it costs less, it kind of does less features. This thing is literally a multicast only speaker. It only does multicast. It's not going to register with Ringcentral or any other hosted provider, or register with Teams, because it only does multicast. It does not do SIP. So these are really good for filler speakers and really good to pair with the paging server that we featured on the last slide. So that way, when the paging when they're trying to make an announcement through the paging server, it's putting out its analog audio as well as its multicast. So that way, this speaker that could say be mounted in a hallway are mounted in, say, a sales area. They can still get that emergency notification out, but not having to go and spend the big old buku bucks on the really fancy SIP speakers. Of course, it's a good option. I really recommend kind of mixing these, where you just need a filler speaker, where you just need where you need to get the notification out, but you're not looking for the individual addressability or the SIP capability that you would get with, say, our regular SIP talkback speaker. So as we move forward, let's talk about a couple of use cases, and let's really highlight the SIP paging server in this use case. So we've got a new customer that's switching over. They're going to start using Teams for their communication system, and they're an existing Ringcentral customer, or they're new. And frankly, that part doesn't really matter. But they've already gone through the process of handling all the direct routing, and they have everything set up to be able to go and make announcements. So they want to be able to make a page both to their office area as well as their factory area. So with a thing like a paging server, they can go and make a call through Microsoft Teams, and then it'll go through the Ringcentral app and actually hit the paging device that the paging server is set up as, and it can multicast that audio out as well as sending the analog audio out. So the analog audio, either, again, that 10,000 ohm RCA style connection or the 600 ohm tip and ring style connection, can go to whatever analog amplifier they have and page to that warehouse, while the multicast is sent back out across the network and can get picked up by things like their SIP speaker that they might have in the individual offices or maybe in the break room, and the multicast speakers that would be in the sales area, and even their SIP phones. If they've got something like a Yealink, a Poly, a Grandstream, what have you, all of those SIP phones are going to support multicast. So if they want, they can receive those emergency notifications or just regular pages through their phones. So you've got a lot of capability there. And it provides a really simple, easy way to page to this new warehouse with that easy integration that's all provided by that SIP paging server. They can page to analog and they can page to IP with that single box. So it makes it really, really powerful and easy to use in those environments. So next, let's talk about intercoms, kind of the one segment of the business that I haven't really talked about. At trade shows, when we used to go to those things, I always referred to us as the intercom company that also makes speakers, because at one point we literally had like 36 different variations of intercoms. We had an absolute ton of them. We've kind of tapered that down a little bit. I think we're down to 24, 25 intercoms. So we got rid of some, but we've still got a lot of intercoms. But intercoms are really useful for access control and just general purposes, but even more today when we're still trying to do social distancing, trying to keep, people that don't need to be inside the business, outside the business. But it also just provides that easy communication with, say, your UPS guy that's coming over to drop off a box, or a FedEx guy, or, what have you. And the nice things with all of our intercoms is they're all still SIP-based, so they're easily going to integrate with Ribbon and register to Teams through Ribbon as a SIP registrar, or just directly to Ringcentral. And you'll be able to utilize these intercoms directly through Teams, so it makes it really, really cool and easy to use. Since it's a regular intercom, you get that full duplex communication that you would expect, where you can have a two-way conversation with the person, whether you're standing there or you're sitting there, you pick up your Yealink phone and you talk to them there, or you're sitting on a beach in Cabo and for some reason you didn't turn off your Teams notifications and you're still getting a call from the FedEx guy. You can still do that if you want. And the nice thing is all of our intercoms have an onboard relay, and that onboard relay is activatable via DTMF. So you can literally be sitting there on your beach in Cabo, sipping a margarita. Oh, FedEx guy is here. Let me buzz him in by punching in 123 or whatever custom code you want on your Teams app, and you can let the guy in from a beach. You could literally be a couple thousand miles away and still let him in. So that's one really powerful feature of our intercoms that you can get with any hosted provider or Teams. And we do a lot of these for different front doors or gate applications, mainly just, again, for that access control, and you can control what people get access to, say, an employee parking lot, or, say, for example, the back door or the delivery door for, people like your UPS guy. So for intercoms that we have out there, I'm really only featuring our outdoor intercoms here. We do have some for indoor environments, but we found that the outdoor rated ones have really seen an uptick in the last, about year and a half or so, probably due to that stainless steel finish, because they're really easy to clean instead of, kind of a powder coated, aluminum that has, a lot more, pockets in it, and that can trap the virus. Where you've got a nice stainless steel finish, you wipe that down with some sanitizer, and that thing is nice and clean. So they have, of course, an onboard relay that can go and integrate with a different door strike. And we've got different accessories that can work with the intercom itself. So say, for example, instead of a regular pneumatic door strike that would require a normally open, temporarily closed style relay, maybe they're working with a mag lock that's going to require a normally closed, temporarily open style relay. We've got different accessory products that can work with our intercoms to provide that kind of capability. But we've got a big variation of intercoms. You can see here, our kind of simple option that we have pictured down there at the bottom is just our bog standard single button intercom. We've all seen these things in movies. You walk up, you press the button, and you talk to somebody. And the nice thing, again, with that onboard relay is they can buzz you in. So it makes it really cool, super duper easy to use, and it's kind of a no-brainer option if they're just looking for access control. Let's say their front door, their back door. It's going to call a ring group, and it's kind of first person that answers it can buzz somebody in. So you get that kind of base level capability there. All of our outdoor units are going to be IP65 rated, so they're good for just about any environment. Of course, not full submersion rating, so you might want to be careful using them around the Gulf Coast, depending on how bad the hurricanes keep getting. But they're pretty good for just about every environment. We do sell a lot of these for boat docks. But we've got also keypad options as well as RFID-based options. And the nice thing with those is you get additional features with more buttons. More buttons just means it can do more things. Of course, you can still use it in just kind of the standard intercom style where you walk up, you press the button, and you talk to somebody. But we've got options that can be very useful for multi-tenant situations where you can literally walk up and dial a number on that keypad there, which can be useful, but you can really potentially open yourself up to toll fraud literally by allowing people to go and actually punch in a phone number. If you can punch in a phone number, they might try to call their cell phone. If they can call their cell phone, okay, maybe then they're going to try calling Malaysia and, different countries out there and run up the long distance call on there. So, one thing to be cognizant of if you set it up like that. But the main mode that we find a lot of customers actually use our keypad intercoms for is what we call security mode, where the standard call button itself will interact like, say, a regular intercom where you walk up, you press the button, and it's going to make a call to a predetermined number. And that reserves the keypad itself to be can actually go and enter key codes. So those are individually assigned key codes that you can use for regular employees. So say, for example, you've got an entranceway that would be used by employees as well as patrons or clients to a facility. You've got your regular UPS guy, or say new applicants for a job, or some kind of solicitor, all that kind of stuff. They can walk up and they can press that call button and go through the standard use case that somebody would expect with an intercom. But all of those employees, that would get kind of frustrating for a secretary who would have to answer, the call, several times a day for regular employees. Hey, it's John. I went out to go get something for my car. Buzz me in. That add a lot of, unnecessary work for that secretary there. So the nice thing with the keypad there is you can issue up to 500 unique time-sensitive key codes that can be used with this keypad. So in that same scenario where somebody goes out to get something from their car, instead of having to press the call button, talk to the secretary, and get buzzed in, they can just punch in their key code and be on their merry way. So it provides a lot of easy capability in there for kind of that dual purpose where they want a keypad, or in the case of an RFID tag reader, an RFID card for their employees and a regular intercom for their patrons or their clients. So that way they've got capabilities and options for both. And both of those units, either the keypad or the RFID, support up to 500 users per box. There's no server, no additional fees or anything like that. You buy the hardware once and you get that for life. Really super duper powerful. Of course, all time sensitive. So my code can work from Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. Your code can work every day, all hours of the night. What have you. You've got all that capability in there, and there's a log built into the unit. So that way you can track if somebody has gone and entered a code when they shouldn't have and maybe gained access and maybe some stuff disappeared. You can be able to track that through the access log that's actually maintained on the unit. So this provides a really easy way to provide that enhanced access control capability to those small to medium businesses that don't want to shell out all that extra money for a full dedicated access control system, from all the big companies where you got to buy the server server and the readers and their proprietary cards. So you get a lot of cool capability with one of our boxes. So next, let's just move on and talk about one use case that we've seen quite a bit for one of our intercoms. And this has been for patient intake at a medical location. So a lot of the times, I mean, especially today, but, even for different surgery areas, they won't always let, just anybody into the surgical suite or just into the actual building itself, just because they might have people in there that have compromised immune systems. They're just really trying to be careful. So a lot of the times they'll use different intercoms for patient intake. So they can have, in this scenario, for this actual customer that we have, they've got two different intercoms. They've got one that's dedicated for patient or staff notification. So those can be actually located in the rooms or in different facilities, different locations actually in that surgical center. But then they've got one outdoors as well that's used for patient drop-off or pickup. So when somebody's getting dropped off for their surgery, say they're getting a gallbladder removed or something like that, the person that's dropping them off can just, they can walk up, press the button, hey, John is here, it's 10:30. He's got, surgery at 11, he's coming in, just checking him in, and they can buzz him in, and that can actually toggle the door and unlock the door. And John can go in and get his surgery, all thanks to the intercom being able to call a dedicated number. Could be your regular phone system, could be Microsoft Teams, what have you. And because of that onboard relay, it can actually go and open the door remotely. So it makes it really, really easy for these patients and nurses to do regular patient intake, all thanks to that single button intercom that they got outside. So hopefully this gives you an idea of how to use our products and how you can integrate them with just a regular phone system or Microsoft Teams. So I've been Paul Tuttle. I really do want to just thank VoIP Supply for hosting this today. I always like the occasion to go out and be able to talk about our products. We've got a lot of cool capabilities and things that we can do for the VoIP Supply customers. We run into a lot of different resellers that might not be comfortable actually speccing out a design for speakers. So we offer this cool program that we call Design Services, where you can reach out to us and we can work with you for different contract bids or work directly with you and the end customer and go through our products that we have and get a list of what they're looking for, and you can provide us a blueprint of the location, and we'll actually plop down on that blueprint where we would place all the speakers. We'll give you an MSRP price estimate and a parts list of all the hardware that you need from us, and then you can go off and buy it from your preferred distributor, hopefully VoIP Supply. But one other nice thing that we have with CyberData is we've got live domestic-based support actually at Monterey at our headquarters, and they're available Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 Pacific. They're locally based guys. I work with the tech support team really frequently, really helpful team. We do a lot of technical pre-sales as well as just regular technical support. Hopefully you won't need it, but if you do, they're there, and you get tech support for the lifespan of the product. We don't do anything where, oh, your product's out of warranty, you got to give us this much money for us to help you. If you got a CyberData product, or you might be getting a CyberData product, feel free to reach out to us and we'll be able to help you pick the right product. But with that, I'll segue back to Darren, so that way he can give out some of his contact info here.
Yeah, Paul, thank you so much for the training. Tons of great information. I know personally I get a lot of calls on paging endpoints, Teams, deployment of paging and how they can work with either new stuff or, already infrastructure that's already there that might be analog or something like that. So tons of information. That was great. Really appreciate that. Again, I'm Darren Hartman, one of the sales consultants here. Again, my contact information there. I'd love to help out anybody that needs help putting together a design for paging, has any questions with paging. They can help you out with VoIP related. Be glad to do that. Thank you everybody for attending today. Thank you, Paul, for putting this on and giving us all the information. So everybody have a great day.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody.